This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Remis is back. Andrew Paterson here with you. Well, we got lots to get to. CFL season kicks off this week. No Bomber game, though. They're on the bye. We'll have to wait until week 2 and the Bomber home opener next week, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to be talking about final cuts and the way the team's looking. Now the training camp and the preseason is over. Bombers winning again on Friday night in Smoky Regina to finish up the preseason at 2-0. Josh Frey-Sam from the Winnipeg Free Press is going to jump on with us, get the latest on the blue and gold, and then Mike McIntyre pops in. We'll talk a little Jets offseason. We'll talk Cup final. And then we will go to Edmonton for a preview of Edmonton, Florida, with our pal from Edmonton Sports Talk, handsome Tommy Gazzola. Jake Bolin Moss will jump in. We'll hit the Coolbet lines as well. So it should be a very busy and fun show today. Hope you all had a great weekend. I'm going to see how Remis's kidless weekend was. Let's just first off give a big thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Ben Moss, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake and F Apparel, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, the Gold Eyes, who are back starting off a homestand tomorrow, Assiniboia Downs, which now has Monday racing. We'll get to that a little bit later on today. And, of course, Breezy Bend, Fans First, fan feedback, and a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, welcome back. Thanks again to Connor for doing a great job while you were away. But tell us, what was it like to get away for the weekend for your first time as a dad without kids?
It was great. Yeah, showed it to my parents and my in-laws who watched our kids while we were gone. First time we had gone away since 2019. So I had a friend's wedding. Showed it to my friend Mickey and his wife Liza. They're supposed to have a wedding, and their child was born on the Friday. So a bit of a different wedding, but a beautiful celebration nonetheless. And
people are going to, whoa, sorry. Come again? The wedding was on Saturday, and unexpectedly had a child the day before the wedding.
Yeah, it was due in a couple weeks, so they had it early. So I had never been to a wedding like that, but it was a great celebration. A lot of family and friends had a great time. So
did they FaceTime the bride in at some point during her own wedding?
I don't think she was sleeping. I don't know. It's very complicated, but groom was there. No bride at the ceremony at the wedding. So it was a great celebration. I'll say that.
Well, Ayush told me that story on the weekend. I could not believe that. But anyways, congratulations to them on both being married officially and the new addition to the family. Got to tell you, dude, the game on Saturday, Canada's women's national team against Haiti, Desiree Scott retirement game, was such an awesome event. Again, congratulations to Des. She was really feeling the love from everyone that was in attendance. But what struck me was just the impact that she made on that team and just how beloved she was with her teammates. Like, the game ended, Reem. There was, some pictures and stuff right around the thing. Then the team did a full lap of the stadium, thanking all the fans. I was kind of over right in the corner where the supporter section was. And they ended up there, the Voyageurs. I guess they've done this with Christine Sinclair and one of the other greats when they retire. They give them a special paddle. So there was a presentation there but it was like the rest of the women on the team sort of became fans like everybody else. And I know One Soccer put out a bunch of the clips of Desiree speaking afterwards. It was, listen, she is one of the greats, regardless of sport, regardless of sex, like to represent our city and our province on an international basis. And I can't think of a better way to finish off her time in Canada than playing in front of hometown friends and family. She was subbed out, I think, at around the 56th or 57th minute. Complete standing ovation, not only by all the fans, but everybody, like staff, players, you name it. It was really, really neat. Great to see lots of WSTers out there. And you know what really struck me as well? The amount of young girls at the game. There was a bunch of, soccer teams and your girls were with their teams and their jerseys. But man, there was a lot of 6, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, like with their families, really into it, seeing kind of their heroes and stars moving forward. So just a great event. We're lucky to be able to have had that here in Winnipeg. And shout out to everyone that came out and supported what was an awesome, awesome night for not only soccer in Canada, but Winnipeg and obviously Desiree Scott.
Yeah, what a celebration it was. Very cool that the women's national team holding a game at Princess Auto Stadium to honor Desiree Scott and all her contributions. Olympics, World Cup, pretty incredible from Winnipeg, us. And she said it with you last week that not every athlete gets to write their ending, and for them to stage this match as a celebration in her hometown. Well done for Canada Soccer. And I didn't get to wear the jersey on Friday. I wasn't here, but I am wearing the Canada Soccer t-shirt today. So very cool to have, this event at Princess Auto Stadium to send her off. And we'll be watching now she's with Ottawa in the Super League. So nice to see the growth of women's soccer in Canada. We talked about this last week with Diana Matheson and with Desiree Scott, how 2012 really put women's soccer on the map in Canada. For me, definitely for me too, very fond memories of watching that, being invested in every game, the semifinal against US, the bronze medal game as well. So I think that really brought it to the forefront here.
Yeah, you know what, man? Are you, I have to ask you, when you were coming back, did you get any of the smoke down south of the border?
Yes. When I was watching the weather report, I was in Minneapolis for the wedding, and, they had it. And yeah, when I was in North Dakota, you definitely noticed that there were definitely weather warnings, and it was nice to get some rain today, this morning.
Yeah, I mean, just, while we sit here kind of, living in the toy department, as I like to say, just thinking about everyone that's affected by these fires right now. And I mean, listen, everyone in the community is dealing with the air quality. I know there's an air quality warning right now for the city, but it's just it's kind of affecting everything right now. But hey, today, cool, 19 high, a few showers. That's great news. Hopefully it'll rain a little bit more and help get some of these things under control. But this is something I think we're going to be dealing with for a little while, and it's obviously impacting sports, both professional, like the events that we're planning on going to as fans, but also I think everyone recreationally playing at all the amateur levels. So be careful out there and be mindful of the smoke conditions. But hey, we could definitely use some rain. Hopefully it'll come down a little bit more. Bombers got their win on Friday, Remis. I didn't expect we'd see a lot of Zach Collaros. I mean, Strevler went in and then boom, Zach Collaros is there airing it out. Dalton Schoen, Keurig Wheatfall playing big roles. And the Bombers getting a big win. We'll have all week to kind of set the Bombers season up. Josh Frey-Sam's going to join us right away. But, man, there were some pretty significant and surprising cuts around the league, including Kadeem Carey in Toronto. I was stunned at that news yesterday.
Yeah, we're going to, get deep into it on CFL 110. Kadeem Carey was one around the league. Alex Hollins, who was very good with BC the last couple of years, cut by Edmonton. Certainly a surprise, and I think it seems just cutting veterans and you can find younger players for production. I'm surprised that Collins couldn't be on a team. Very good. And Kadeem Carey, I mean, the Argos team that won the Grey Cup, I think they're going to look a lot different. They cut Dukes as well, who stepped in when Chad Kelly was he suspended last year. So I think this league is going to look a bit different. You're going to have some young players stepping in to make an impact. And as for the Bombers, yeah, surprising, Zach Claris. Not surprising that he's got that connection still with Dalton Schoen. Two deep bomb, 240-yard throws. One of them for a TD to Carrick Wheatfall, who showed flashes last year. And this, last receiver spot, you thought it was going to be Mitchell, who they signed from Edmonton, has not made an impact at all. I know Josh is going to weigh in on that shortly. And for the Bombers, they're going to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster for week 2 because Zach is suspended. So it's going to be Terry Wilson and this Chase Ardo Pius. And Strevler is going to be starting week 2. Looked pretty good preseason, 8 of 10, 76 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So he's going to be the guy. Curious if they let him throw a bit more. You know, last year when he stepped in for that win, it was kind of just run. And then he eventually run that much, you're going to get injured, which he did. So maybe they go with more. You see more of the arm from Chris Strevler this season.
One of the other big cuts in the league that I was a little surprised by, Walter Fletcher in Montreal.
Yes.
He was basically their guy all last year. They got rid of Stanback. He came in, had a really productive game. When he carried the ball, he had 764 yards last year, 4 touchdowns, caught 71 passes for 682 yards and 3 scores. So you're talking about close to 1,400, or actually over 1,400 combined yards, and cut. They're now going to run in the backfield Stevie Scott III and rookie Travis Thies. But, you know, when you think about like 2 pretty big-time running backs in the East, the top 2 teams both getting cut. I mean, as you mentioned, Hollins in Edmonton was another one. And I'll tell you what, I was interested to see what became of Dylan Mitchell. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that if Dylan Mitchell hadn't already received a signing bonus and had a significant investment from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I'm not sure he's on the roster today. But we'll get into that with Josh coming up. He wrote about it last week, but it does look like he basically is at least starting the season in somewhat of a backup role. And I don't think that's what anyone thought was the plan when he, of course, was signed in the offseason as a free agent.
No, it certainly was not. So, we talked about it all training camp. Wasn't practicing with the ones, wasn't practicing for a bit. And we'll see what happens there. And yeah, he got a big signing bonus. He contributed, he was a big contributor with Edmonton in the past. Not quite with the Bombers. They're looking for someone to replace Kenny Lawler. He thought it would be him, but there was Carrick Wheatfall making the big catch on the weekend. Curious how he can do it. He had some big plays, wasn't able to keep it up throughout the whole season last year, so something to watch heading into week 2. You mentioned other big names. Who's the other? Jalen Samuels, former NFL running back, cut by Ottawa. So people are asking Justin Dunk at 3 Down Nation, hey, could you make a team of all these great players that are getting cut? So we'll keep an eye on the Bombers. It kind of sucks, Huss. CFL starting up, Thursday. Should be pretty excited. It's Ottawa at Saskatchewan, 8 p.m. Central Time, but I feel like the excitement here is kind of tempered until the home opener, June 12 on Thursday at 7:30 when Buck Pierce and the BC Lions are back here. So I guess I'm excited. We have the Saturday late game, Edmonton at BC. We didn't have too many of those. We didn't have too many last year. The Saturday late games. I love, Nathan Rourke carving up some team on Saturday night. We're back. We're back. I'm excited. He's looking good in the preseason. So it's exciting to have it back in Stanley Cup Final. So there's a big week, a lot going on. Oh yeah, free agency. We're officially a month countdown to July 1. It's exciting.
Right. Yeah, we got Frank's top 50 free agent list.
Yeah,
up at DFO. We'll have to talk about that in a little bit later on. But yeah, as far as and tomorrow CFL 110 with myself and Hammer will follow WST. And this will be a fun one because we're going to get into some preseason MOP talk, win totals. And I did just talk to Jake. He's going to jump on with us at the end of the program. but the individual player props for the entire CFL season will be back up shortly, and we'll touch on that when he joins us coming up in the Coolbet lines a little later on. And Remo, I guess tomorrow's media day, and then we finally get at it with the Cup final beginning on Wednesday. Tommy Gazzola is going to join us a little later on, but very happy that this series isn't starting on Saturday, which it was originally planned. I mean, it can't not start soon enough now that the NBA finals are set with OKC and Indiana going. Their final is going to begin on Thursday night. So we got a couple more days to get through, and then we'll have a championship game most nights.
Yeah, what is the schedule, Huss? Thursday, it ended. They couldn't start it Monday, like sucking all the momentum they had. I'm looking forward to this final rematch of last year. Connor McDavid, can he get that first Stanley Cup? That would be a huge part of his legacy, and getting revenge from last year as well, where they took him to 7 games after being down 3-0. Big injury for Edmonton. Zach Hyman. I am a bit sad. I missed everything last week. I missed talking about Peter DeBoer pulling Jake Ottinger and giving up on him after letting in 2 goals on 2 shots. And I missed your rant about Paul Maurice, opting out of the coaching lineup. I was really sad that I missed that, Huss. You said it all. We put it out on our Instagram reels. But I said he thinks he's like Larry David, where he doesn't have to sing the happy birthday song. It's a stupid song. Why are we all singing this? That's Paul Maurice saying, I don't think we should go in the handshake line. Nobody's doing it. Like, and then mentioning that some coach wanted to get on TV. It was him who wanted to get on TV with a stand-up routine at the mic. That was a crazy. I don't think people agreed with him on that. Why?
No, he did. And I mean, just if you know Maurice, and you've been in a market like Winnipeg where we've dealt with him, the thought of Maurice kind of saying this probably started because some coach wanted to get camera time was, I mean, so laughable considering the source. I'm like, whatever. But I don't think Brindamore was very pleased with it all. And, we did see Knobloch in the handshake line after the Western Conference Finals. So be interesting to see how the showdown goes down come the Cup final when it's over one way or the other. I
was going to say, like, now when the series is over, no matter who wins, we're going to be watching the handshake line to see what happens. This is something that we did not care about before. Now I am invested. What if Florida wins? Will Paul Maurice go in? What if Edmonton wins? And will there be a pre-handshake line conversation? And maybe I would be here for saying, coaches, we didn't do it before. Why are we doing this now? But for him to say some coach wanted to get on TV, I think eliminated any credibility to his argument.
Yeah, and I don't know where it's come from. I mean, he's been doing it before. But anyways, I'm sure it'll be a topic at some point in the Cup final when we get going.
It's going to come up. Like, dumbest thing.
Oh, and believe me, someone will ask and he'll spend another 3 or 4 minutes talking about it in long, big words. And he'll take advantage of it. Listen, tomorrow at Media Day, get ready for a lot of Paul Maurice. It's like they may need to book an extra hour for him to sit up there and talk about hey, he's got a hell of a hockey team, though. This rematch is going to be phenomenal. I mean, Edmonton, Florida, running it back. And, I think maybe I said this to Connor while you were away, but the last 2 rematches in the Stanley Cup, 83-84, Islanders won against Edmonton. The next year, the Oilers won Wayne Gretzky's first Stanley Cup championship. Fast forward to, what was it, 06, 07? Pittsburgh, Detroit. Pittsburgh loses the first time. Then they come back, win it in the rematch. Sidney Crosby gets his first Stanley Cup. Fast forward to now. Oilers, McDavid lose last year. If you believe like the Canadian hockey royalty of Gretzky, Crosby, McDavid, it would be pretty cool to see McDavid follow in the footsteps of those two, run it back, get another shot at the team that beat them. and put them over the top to finally win right now. We talked a lot about, whether people are going to be kind of cheering for the Oilers. It's the debate. Do you want your team to be the first Canadian team to win? I think we all would. But I'm sort of past it right now, and I'm at peace. If Edmonton can go in and get it done, I'll be happy for McDavid. I'll be happy that we don't have to hear about the Canadian teams winning the cup anymore. And as I say, I think there'll be a lot of people that maybe in other circumstances wouldn't be pulling for Edmonton to win this thing starting on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm looking at the series line. I know you'll get into it later. Oilers slight favorite, -125. I thought it would be more even than that. I know Mike Kelly did his Sport Logic projection. He had Edmonton 52% chance. So I think this is a real coin flip here. I thought Zach Hyman injury would be significant for Edmonton, but Corey Perry, this guy has stepped up. And how about Corey Perry, who's was like 5 of the last 6 Cup finals, and he hasn't won.
He only won the first time he made it there.
Yeah, only won with Anaheim, but lost with Tampa, lost with Dallas, lost with Montreal, lost with Edmonton. He's on a crazy run here, and I think you want to see, if you're a hockey fan, you want to see McDavid get that cup. He certainly deserves it. He's been the best player in the league for a number of years. I think certainly add to his legacy, joining Crosby, joining the great players in NHL history who have carried a team to a cup final. Mentioned Leon Draisaitl as well. I think it would be huge. So I'd like to see Edmonton win. Do I really care that they're the team to break the Canada drought and it's not the Jets? No, I don't think so. I think you want to see McDavid win. You want to see great players do great things. And I'd like to see McDavid win a cup final, Huss.
One other thing for the weekend that I'm not sure when it originally happened, whether you were on the show, but like the Jake Ottinger situation. Like, I don't normally care too much about other teams and season-ending press conferences, and that's still going to be a long time, I think, before things kind of settle back to normal. And I do wonder how much longer Peter DeBoer is going to be the head coach of the Stars. I mean, even if he comes back and he's the head coach at the beginning of next year, it does seem like if things don't go well, that have we got to the expiry date on Peter DeBoer right now? And how much did pulling Ottinger in the fashion that he did maybe speed up that process of the team ready to move on from a guy that all he's done is win?
Jake Ottinger, he was their best player leading up to that. He was awesome in the series against the Jets. And yeah, he gave up 2 goals on 2 shots, but these were A-grade shots from A-grade players, Huss. He's not giving up softies, and I think there's a bit of a contrast there with how how the coaching staff at Dallas reacted after he let in 2 goals, and how the Winnipeg staff reacted to Hellbeck letting in 2 goals in Game 7. They let Hellbeck stay in, showed confidence in him, and for Peter DeBoer to show 0 confidence and put in cold Casey DeSmith after everything that Jake Ottinger did for them this playoffs, I think it was surprising and disappointing for him to throw Ottinger under the bus and say, hey, this guy hasn't really won against Edmonton when they're having trouble scoring goals. And then the video of Ottinger walking past DeBoer and DeBoer not really saying anything to him and throwing him under the bus in the press conference. I don't know if that's how you treat a player who's signed long-term to your organization, who's carried you to this moment in the playoffs. And a lot of time with Mikko Rantanen, he was very quiet in the conference final. He had some big games, but some quiet games as well against the Jets. I'm curious what happens with DeBoer. What doesn't have a contract for next season. Ottinger is going to be the goalie going forward. And they're asking players, and the players are saying, well, I'm not the coach. That's not my decision. I think a lot of them probably disagreed, saying, hey, Jake's our guy. We didn't help him out to start. You're putting in a cold Casey DeSmith. I don't think that's recipe for success. And a lot of images of calling back to how he treated Marc-Andre Fleury in Vegas with Alan Walsh putting out that sword graphic.
Can you imagine if Alan Walsh was Jake Ottinger's agent?
Yeah. I mean,
he would have reprised that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, other people did. Other people put out the sword graphic on Andre. Now he's going to be their guy going forward, but will DeBoer be the head coach going forward? Something to watch and something that had intrigue where maybe you didn't need. So, and I couldn't help but think about how the Jets remained to show confidence in Hellebuck, and he bailed them out with a Game 7 win. Was excellent in the third period. Andre, probably could have strapped on his pads a bit tighter and pulled together. You're putting Casey DeSmith in a real tough spot there.
No doubt about it. Hey, Josh Frey-Sam's going to jump on with this. We're actually going to hit a bunch of things. We'll talk Bombers, but Josh with soccer on Saturday. Also at the Sea Bears Saturday night. Remo, things are not going well for the Sea Bears. 1-4 on the season. 3 losses on home court. They lose on the weekend, 88-73 to the Ottawa Blackjacks. The event, the night was great. I mean, you had over 8,000 fans. They had WPW wrestling pregame and halftime. Reem, I don't know if you've seen the video of Churchill the bear, the mascot, climbing to the top rope and executing an amazing cross-body block on 2 of the WPW wrestlers. But unfortunately for the Hoop fans, the music was great. The wrestling was awesome. The home team just wasn't able to get a W, and it was a very tough start. I mean, at least we know that the team's going to be in that championship weekend, but you want to be competitive. You don't want to get in as a last place team, assuming you're just going to be fodder for the top teams. Like Mike Taylor's got a lot on his hands, I think, with the club.
Yeah, I was going to say, the 88-73 loss on Saturday, the biggest highlight I saw on social media was a stone cold stunner from Churchill the bear in the ring. It was 90s night, so they had wrestling there. And as you mentioned, the music and a great crowd at Canada Life Center, but they want to see some wins. And at 1-4 in a year where you're hosting the CEBL Championship, not going to get it done. And they did have a surprise roster move, cutting Mason Boursier before the game. And Seabears not really looking like that team that set the league on fire in year 1 last year. A lot of off-court drama with Teddy Allen, and you're not bringing back who was the Justin Wright Foreman, who was a great player for them, and they're going for this team game. Doesn't seem to be working out here at 1-4. They're waiting for Simi Shidu to come back here, and they're waiting for him to finish his league, and he's going to join the team on this road trip. But hey, you're 1-4. It's not a great start, and Mike Taylor's got to figure out, okay, how are we going to get some wins here? 3 losses at home. This is a team that draws very well. Maybe some concerns early for the Seabears, Huss.
Schickster was working the game. He goes, that wrestling was freaking awesome at the Seabears game. Churchill was epic. I heard they were training him in the afternoon, teaching him some moves. That was how he did the stunner. And of course,
I should put that up.
Listen, check it out. It was all over social media. And unfortunately, last year the Seabears set the league on fire. This year, they're just on fire. Well, I know Josh was at the game. We'll get to that coming up in a minute. Hey, folks, if you've got a move coming up this summer, holler at our friends at Rolly's Transfer. Family owned and operated for 60 years, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, offering the white glove service that you, your family, and all your prized possessions deserve when you're on the way to a new location. Hit them up online, rollies.com. You'll see in the top right corner, request an estimate. Throw in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you are planning on moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote for you and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that Rollies is famous for. For all your moving needs, go with the leaders, Rollies Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollies.com. Had a great chance to see our pal Dr. Terry on the weekend at the game. And then, of course, he was there at Elmhurst yesterday as St. Vital Dental Center presented the match play championships. We'll touch on that on our Breezy Bend Golf Report. But, of course, St. Vital Dental Center, great supporters of WST and golf in Manitoba for all your dental needs for customers from 6 months to 99 plus. Everything from cleanings, checkups, all the way to things like dental implants. They've got you covered. Beautiful new building, 167 St. Anne's, with free parking right behind the building right now for all your dental needs. St. Vital Dental Center waiting for you. Tell them your friends at WST sent you. Hot weekend, of course. And if you haven't already tried that new Canadian Club and ginger ale, it's got company now. CC and ginger ale comes in the club pack now with CC Citrus Smash. And of course, the Canadian Hub half and half, available at your local Manitoba liquor marts. So try them all. Then as we get into the summer, there will be 4-packs of the individual flavors as well. You can pick up Canadian Club at your local Manitoba liquor marts and keep your eye out for the new club pack, the drink of the summer. And hey, shout out to Donnie and the gang, Manitoba Battery. I know a lot of people are opening cabins if they're able to get to them right now. If you got your camper, your boat, getting ready for it, you got to make sure you got a battery for it. And I'm not sure people realize, but you can save up to $50 a battery by shopping local, skipping the big box stores, and hollering at Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery. 2 locations to serve you. Logan Avenue, the new store on Dovercourt Drive in the south end of the city, with batteries for literally everything. Lowest prices in town guaranteed, and free delivery on any purchase over $60 anywhere inside the perimeter. It's just that easy. For all your battery needs, keep it local. Go to Manitoba Battery or shop online, manitobabattery.com. All right, we got lots to get to with Josh Frey-Sam, who joins us now from the Winnipeg Free Press. What's going on, dude? Great to have you back on the show.
What's going on, fellas? I'm doing well. I got a week off now after that grind of a training camp. I'm taking some time, Huss. But
well, you were everywhere on the weekend too, which we'll get to in a minute. But hey, you know what? First off, we'll do this when he joins us for CFL with 10. But huge congratulations to our pal and your colleague Jeff Hamilton on that big national newspaper award for their childcare investigation on the weekend. That's great for the Free Press too. Really speaks to what the newspaper is doing, really as the standard right now in Canada.
Yeah, man, no doubt about it. Yeah, shout out to the paper, and then also a huge shout out to Jeff. We all know Jeff's just a dog when it comes to journalism, man. He's done his thing with the Jets, with the Bombers, and obviously him doing his more investigative stuff now lately. He's that. You can see how talented he is. So I'm, huge shout out to him and proud of him for what he's done.
Yeah, Jeff and Katrina. I mean, you can you check it out. Obviously, the Free Press is really proud of them, but figured we hit that right off the bat. So, well, let's start with the Bombers. I mean, you've been on the grind of camp. We have this weird start to the season where we got to wait a week before we see the team in their home opener. But the cuts have been made. They'll be practicing. Josh, what were the big takeaways? Any big surprises from the cut downs after the preseason win against the Riders?
Yeah, I think the biggest news, or the biggest surprise, if there was one, would be wide receiver Myron Mitchell. He was, for my money, I thought he was a standout this spring. I thought he looked great. Mike O'Shea's talked a lot about that second-year jump for these guys, especially the American guys when they're coming up from down south and getting used to the waggle and getting the hang of everything that is entailed with the 3-down game. And so Myron Mitchell, who maybe needed some time to settle in a year ago, has really found his footing this spring, and he was a standout for my money. He was working a lot with the first team offense. He was getting a lot of reps in with Zach Claros. He's getting a lot of reps in with Chris Strevler, and he was showing it in games as well. I think that first preseason game, he was targeted by Zach like 4 or 5 times on the first couple of drives, and so there was a clear, obviously, whether it was just in the progression or whether it was designed or whether Zach was looking for him, there was some sort of a trust with Myron Mitchell, I think, that was developing there. And so for that guy to get cut was definitely a little bit of surprise for my money. But I think that was just a matter of kind of the ratio, and just kind of getting squeezed out there, unfortunately, for Myron. Maybe we see him at some point, depending on injuries or something like that again. But he was probably the easiest surprise of the bunch. And then Jalen Hall, the other wide receiver, American wide receiver, a little bit less of a surprise because you knew that it was going to be an uphill battle for him to kind of make the roster, but especially as an American. But again, another guy who, if you watched him in camp, Jalen Hall he's a long guy, 6'3", like a $185 or something like that, $190, and he's has some field stretching ability, and again, showed a lot of good chemistry with Chris Strevler. There was like a point in camp where it felt like 3, 4, 5 days in a row where it was Chris Strevler hooking up with Jalen Hall in the end zone and on a deep shot. And so was a little bit, I thought he put himself in the mix, but obviously didn't work out in his favor. Takeaways would be the big one, Trey Vaval, the defensive back, American defensive back. He looks like he's probably got the inside track to be the returner, the kick returner in week 2 for this club. And so that's at least who my bet would be on. Again, Myron Mitchell got cut. Gavin Cobb went to the practice squad, a Canadian guy. Keelan Harris got cut. So those guys who are all working out at returner, they're now not there. And the only other guy who's working out at returner this spring who might have a shot to knock off Trey Vaval for the returner spot is Dylan Mitchell. But I'm just not sure. Trey Vaval had a 95-yard return or something crazy like that in the second preseason game just this weekend. It was wiped away by a holding call. I think it was a clipping call, actually, is what it was on the Bombers. And so, Mike O'Shea isn't happy about that. But Trey Vaval, again, he showed his explosiveness. And so I think that he's got the inside track when it comes to the returner spot here. And he is probably the guy that I would peg for that job. But outside of that, Huss, I mean, not too many crazy surprises. I think that we're definitely not done seeing the Bombers make some moves. They're probably going to cut off a few more guys here in the next week or so as we get closer, because I think if my math is right, they're at 53 right now, with like 23 national players, I think, or something like that is what the number is. But so they're going to have to shave a couple guys off still, and we'll see, because there could be some guys, whether it's injured list or suspended list, whatever the deal might be, but a couple of guys to keep an eye on as far as injured list goes. Eric Lofton, the right tackle, he started camp and then got hurt, missed like 4 or 5 sessions in a row, and then came back, didn't play in the first preseason game, came back, practiced for a couple days, and then he was hurt again with and wearing a leg sleeve on his right leg. And so there's something nagging there. I don't know what it is. Maybe a soft tissue injury potentially. I don't know. But the point is that especially with the amount of reps that Kendall Randolph has been getting at right tackle, I wonder if Kendall Randolph is the week 2 starter for this Bombers club, and Eric Lofton maybe goes to the injured game, and then Chase Artopius, because the Bombers still have 4 quarterbacks. So Chase Artopius got dinged up in that second preseason game, didn't return after 1 drive, and so he might find his way to the injured list potentially. But those would be 2 names to keep an eye on.
Josh, you mentioned Dylan Mitchell, and it's been an interesting kind of story to watch all training camp long. You wrote about this last week in the Winnipeg Free Press.
Yeah.
We're seeing, I mean, it wasn't Dylan Mitchell catching the big deep balls. It was Keurig Wheatfall, who seems like he's really established himself, at least in the eyes of the coaches, as maybe, the go-to guy. Like, we saw some big names cut over the weekend. Kadeem Carey, Walter Fletcher, Alexander Hollins. How precarious is Dylan Mitchell's spot right now? And do you think he'd be a Bomber if they hadn't already invested a signing bonus in the guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you wonder if that's probably why his leash is a little bit longer, is exactly the amount of money that he's making. And granted, his track record as well. This is a guy who, as I wrote, in some dark days in Edmonton, he's been a bright spot over the past few seasons. So again, he knows, and more importantly, the Bombers know that it's in him to kind of perform, right? And so I think that's part of the leash. But yes, exactly. The money that he's making, I think, gave him a little bit more leeway in that respect. But yeah, you said it, Huss, because Dylan Mitchell has been worked out in the slot a little bit in camp, but it looked like it was maybe they're playing around and just try and think different things in camp, as you do in camp. And so, but the more natural position and the place that I think everybody pegged Dylan Mitchell to be in is in where Ontario Wilson was last season, on the weak side, on the outside of the weak side of the formation. So that's where Keurig Wheatfall is lining up right now. And that's where, so it's either going to be Keurig or it's going to be Dylan Mitchell there. And maybe Dylan Mitchell could go to take over Kevin Clercius' spot, potentially. That would be the only other name. But otherwise, I think we see Dylan Mitchell start the season on the bench as it's kind of tracking right now, and then and maybe he works his way into a rotation potentially with Wheatfall and Clercius. But I think that's a tough pill for the Bombers to swallow, because if I'm not mistaken, he's probably like their 3rd highest paid receiver on the roster. So to have your 3rd highest paid receiver on the Riding Pine is a little bit of a tough pill to swallow. But yeah, Keurig Wheatfall, if there was any, like for my money, I think Carrick I thought his job was kind of safe heading into that second preseason game. But depending on who you asked, they would have told you that I think Carrick, there's potential that he could get cut at that point, going into that second preseason game. And so the fact that he had 4 or 5 grabs for like 80 plus yards and 2 touchdowns, I think that probably locked up his spot pretty well. But yeah, it's going to be, it looks like it's either Wheatfall or Dylan Mitchell on the outside there. And I thought Carrick Wheatfall, he didn't necessarily and pop off the page until that second preseason game, but he had a really solid camp and he showcased his speed. Long strider, really has breakaway speed. A guy that kind of you want to just get the ball in his hands. I think he's got a little bit more juice than Mitchell, right? And like I think that he's a guy where Carrick Wheatfall, you could put him on a slant and give it to him in space, and maybe he makes one guy miss and he takes it to the house. I don't know if Dylan Mitchell necessarily has that kind of getaway speed, but Carrick Wheatfall, I think he does. And so I think Carrick, at least what he's shown in camp, is he's the more dynamic playmaker. He's the guy that I'd be more comfortable with having on the field right now. But at the same time, it's a long season. And so if Dylan Mitchell maybe starts on the bench, he might not last there too long, especially with his returning ability as well. You never know. But yeah, as it stands right now, if I had to guess, it would be Carrick, Clercius on the Carrick and Clercius on the outside spots, and then Dylan Mitchell. Maybe he can rotate in there at some point.
How what do you think of Stearns throughout camp?
Yeah, man, he was day one. I saw him run a couple of routes because to be completely honest, I didn't watch too much Jared Stearns over in Saskatchewan, so I didn't really know too much about him. I know he had a stint over there in the NFL as well, but didn't know too much about him. As I started reading up on him, and then I actually saw him in person day one of camp. This was the Sunday. I looked over at Derek Taylor and I said, yeah, okay, I think that's my guy for camp here that I'm watching here, that I wanted, that because his route running ability for starters is spectacular. His ability to separate at the top of his routes are awesome. And he has some sneaky speed as well. Now, he's not going to necessarily outrun everybody, and he's not going to necessarily be the downfield threat that's going to go win a jump ball by any means, because he's, I think, 5'7", 5'8". But he's got some hops, and he's got some sneaky speed as well. But Jared Stearns is going to be that. Well, everybody remembers Weston Dressler and how he kind of did his stuff underneath, right? He did the little wiggles and he got open in short space, and he was sure-handed, and he was a lock. He was a good guy for picking up. You need 7-8 yards. Oh, okay. Weston Dressler is going to go shake a guy, and he's going to go make an easy grab for a first down. Jared Stearns is that kind of guy, man. He's a sure-handed guy. And I asked Zach Collaros about him earlier in camp, because it didn't take me long to write story on Jared, because the more and more I watched him, it was this guy's going to be tough to move out of a spot in this, not only on the roster, but in the starting lineup. And so I asked Zach about him, and Zach kind of lit up about him as well. And he said, talked about how he's just a pro. He comes in, and you can tell, I don't think he dropped a ball all camp. Him and Zach connected. I think one of their best days, they connected for 3 straight touchdowns in a team period. It was just, there's a connection there. They see the field the same way, and he's got sure hands. And so Jared Stearns, I think he's going to start in the slot right beside Nick Dembski. And then Dalton Schoen will be in the other slot position, of course. And Jared Stearns is just going to be kind of he'll kind of provide what Nick Dembski provides, in a sense, where it's just he is that sure-handed guy who can get open when you need him to. But he's I think if you put this starting 5 out with Carrick, Dalton Schoen, Nick Dembski, Jared Stearns, and Kevins Clercius, I would say Jared Stearns probably has the best separating ability out of that bunch. He has the most wiggle out of that bunch. And so I'm a big fan of Jared Stearns and what he's brought to the club here so far. And I would put some money down that he's going to be in the starting lineup for this club. And I don't know what kind of numbers he puts up. I don't know if he catches a bunch of touchdown passes this season, but I think that he's going to make some big catches at some points in games. He's going to be that fourth quarter guy, pick up a key second down or something. Yeah,
that's several. I mean, it might not be huge numbers,
right?
But important targets, moving the chains. And listen, we're going to see this, starting in the second game of the season, how these guys in real live regular season action, create that chemistry with Zach Collaros, and, where Zach and who Zach trusts in giving the ball out. I'm really looking forward to it. While we're on the CFL for a minute, is there a bigger failure in all of professional sports than the Canadian Football League's IT department or whatever the hell is doing their broadcasting of the games and the stats? How are we still dealing with this in 2025?
Yeah, man. It's like, and that's I've talked to guys about it too, where it's just like we want to bring in young fans. We want to bring in guys like young fans like the stat. They like they I don't know. I even look at like things like the salary cap and stuff like that, man. Like fans are interested in all these, in the minutia,
Absolutely.
all this stuff of football in sports in general, man. And a lot of stuff isn't available to fans. And like, again, yeah, the stats, you talked about the IT stuff, and like even tuning into some games, you look at it and it's just, it's subpar right now. And so that's kind of where I look at it. You want to attract more fans. To me, you gotta pay up and make sure that you're running it at a high efficiency in some of these areas on your broadcast, and again on the stats as well, because people care about that, man. And so that's a good way for people to stop caring about your product.
The Manitoba Junior Hockey League has better and more reliable statistics in games than the Canadian Football League does right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is not a new thing. Like this whole Genius experiment, I think of Genius Sports, I mean, is the most hilariously named outfit, because there's been nothing even remotely close to Genius-like about anything they've done trying to figure this all out over the course of the last...
Genius was a part of that. They were the chip in the footballs last year, right?
I believe it's part of...
Yeah. So like, I mean, and that was a whole thing after 1 week.
Okay, let's get those balls out.
That was crazy as well. So yeah, it's just been it's been a rocky road.
Hey, Josh Frey-Sam's with us from the Winnipeg Free Press. I know you were covering out at the stadium on Saturday afternoon. What a scene for Desiree Scott finishing up her career. That was something. I'm so glad that I was there. And we saw a lot of Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners that were there. For someone that's done so much for the sport, but also representing our community as one of the greatest ambassadors ever. What an amazing way for her to end her incredible career with the Nats.
Yeah, she was she was very gracious for and Desiree's funny, because I was waiting for tears while she was walking around. I think there might have been tears at some point. I didn't see it. There was somebody who caught a picture of it, I think, though, of her, one of our photojournalists that got her maybe shedding a tear. But like it's kind of funny because it was just all smiles. It was just it was celebratory, and there wasn't necessarily, although they talked about in the days leading up to it, there was a little bit of that element of finality and that sadness that's a part of that, but it was very much a celebration, and them reminiscing about, hey, remember that time in the hotel room, we're trying to pass time, and the dance parties and whatever karaoke or whatever they do in there to pass time, the national team. But they talked a lot about reminiscing over the years, and Desiree Scott, she talked about it being an end of an era. Well, it really is, with the fact she's the last player from that 2012 squad Olympic team, and so really is an end of an era. And now we're kind of shifted over to this new era of Canadian women's soccer. But that was a heck of a scene, man. And over 9,000 people showed up. Desiree looked good. She's running around out there.
Totally.
She was, I think that she maybe she wanted to score a goal or something. She said before in the day before on Friday, she said, I haven't scored a goal in 187 international games, so I don't know if I'm gonna score, but she said I'd go crazy if I did. So she's 188-0 as far as goals go, but yeah, she made it up for it in her medals.
Funny enough, she just scored her first ever pro goal in the opener of Ottawa in the Northern Super League, which was a really great story. You know what? Like, I hung around afterwards and saw the women do the lap, celebrating with the fans, and I was kind of near the supporters section, so they came over. What really stood out to me of that scene, not only was the love from everyone there giving it to Desiree, but was the reaction of her teammates. And like, there's nothing, I think, more that will show what a person, or an athlete in this case, is about, is the impact you have on the others on the team. But I mean, they were fans just like the rest of us at the end. And it was a really, really cool scene. And I don't think you could end a career in any more of a perfect way for Desiree, and then to do that on Saturday the way she did, and a great win for the girls too with the 4-1 win over Haiti in a really fun game.
Yeah, no doubt, and they were dominant in that first half as well. That was fun. But Natalie Henderson, I think, summed it up. Natalie Henderson's the assistant coach for Team Canada, who was filling in for Casey Stoney as the head coach on this day. Casey was back home dealing with a family matter, but Natalie Henderson summed it up great when we asked her about, maybe just the scene when she subbed Desiree Scott off, right, in that 55th minute, 56th minute, and we asked about, the fact that Desiree came up to her and gave her a big hug, and Natalie said, listen, I think that perfectly embodies who Desiree Scott is. Like, I've known Desiree Scott. She said, I've known Desiree Scott for like 3 days. You know what I mean? I've never coached her or anything like that. She comes up, embraces me like she's known me for years. Like, we went way back. And so you talked about, Huss, how the impact that maybe she's had on those around her. They looked at her as a mentor. They looked at her as a coach. They looked at her as a big sister. It was, and Natalie Henderson, I think, even the head Haitian coach as well talked about after the game. He said, listen, she's a legend, and she absolutely deserves this. And so her impact has not only been felt those closest to her on the team, but you could feel it they could feel it on the opposite sideline as well. And even the Haitian coach said, I think part of our slow start, you can't start slow against these top 10 ranked teams. And we didn't start until the 15th minute, which contributed. But he said, I think that was part of it. It was the crowd. It was the atmosphere, it was the environment. It was Desiree Scott's presence. You know what I mean? That just kind of, it shocked. It took them back as a team and obviously led to Canada jumping out to a really early lead.
Hey, how about that Haitian supporters section?
No doubt.
That was wild. I mean, and they were like, when they scored their goal, I was on the opposite end, but that is what, you get to these international games, even in friendlies, you're underdog, you're probably not going to win. That was one of the cool moments of the entire thing. Now, you had a busy day.
Yeah. You
were at the soccer game, and then you grab a quick burger, then right at it with the Sea Bears.
Sure was.
All business on the weekend for Josh. What's up with the Sea Bears? This is an ugly start right now with 3 straight home losses. The wrestling was great. The music was good. This team needs to get their footing and try and win a basketball game. Yeah, the wrestling was all time. That was like, they need to bring that back. That was every game. That was unreal. I could not stop laughing, and just and Churchill coming in from the top ropes to end it was just unreal. Okay, yeah, the basketball game, the basketball itself, the team itself is Mike Taylor's talked about how this team's getting bullied right now. Like, that's what it is. It comes down, which is really funny because all offseason, Mike Taylor has talked about how he built this team in the paint, through the paint. He built this team through getting bigger, more physical in the paint. And so that that was going to be the way they were going to win games, was essentially, hopefully, by bullying other teams. And so far, the Sea Bears are the ones getting bullied. They're getting pushed around out there. And so he went into the details about how that is, can be typical for some teams who have never played FIBA rules before. It's a little bit more of a physical game. And so coming into the CBL, they can get it may be a little bit like the CFL. Some of these guys who've never played in there, right? You're kind of adjusting to the rules. You're adjusting to the game style. And so that could be one possibility. The other possibility, though, I will say, Huss, is that keep in mind, I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I would not be hitting the panic button if I were a Sea Bears fan, because they are still without their best player, and that is Simi Shiddu, who is the British-born but Canadian-raised center, 6'10", athletic. He was on the All CBL team just a couple of seasons ago in 2023 with the Calgary Surge. Led the league in rebounds, is a stretch 5, can space the floor, hit the 3-pointer, but also is big enough that he can bully his way in the paint and get some rebounds. And so because he is missing, he was playing in Greece, finishing up his season in Greece. Now he's back home in Ontario, but he's visiting with his family. He'll join the team on the road trip in Ontario when they go, and then he'll come back home with them and continue to practice. Would not expect to see Simi out there with the Sea Bears this week, but next week should be back out there. Should be actually playing with the team after a few practices. But the point being with that is, not only are the Sea Bears, not playing a very physical style of basketball without Simi, it's also that everybody else is kind of, it sounds like, been
having to elevate into a different spot that they're maybe not used to playing without Simi. And so everybody's, you might have a Jalen Williams who's out there playing in an unnatural spot, and Kyler Filowich, who's maybe not playing a role that he should be playing necessarily. And so there's a lot of different pieces here that the Sea Bears have kind of been navigating, and it all kind of stems from the fact that they don't have their best player out there right now. And so, again, wouldn't necessarily hit the panic button yet if I was a Sea Bears fan. Of course, the brand that they're playing, that's definitely not sustainable. Against Vancouver a couple of games ago, they probably played their best half of basketball of the entire season. And then they have just been dominated coming out of the locker room after halftime. I think the number was 106 to like 66 entering that last game.
Yikes.
Quarter. Yeah, they are just something not hitting the ground running coming out of halftime. And so Sea Bears have been a little bit tough to watch in the third quarter, but if they can kind of get that fixed, then things they had themselves kind of in the running entering the fourth quarter against Ottawa this last weekend, and then they can hopefully put themselves in position to win some games and target score time. Because a lot of this is funny because, again, not only with the offseason philosophy from Mike Taylor, but then also with the target score time and how the struggles that they've been having there, even in their opener when they won, but they made it close at the end. The funny thing is that they have Dr. Nick Elam, the creator of target score time. He's a coach. He is being paid by them as a coach this season. And so you have the guy who knows target score time better than anybody, and he is on your roster, on your salary, and yet you are still having these struggles. So it's been an ugly start for the Sea Bears, but listen, their best players coming, and we'll see now. Then we can start to make more of a better assessment once Simi's back.
Hey, Josh, great stuff, buddy. Hey, before we go, is Eric Regalka one of your buddies?
Eric Regalka is. Should I say that? Should I have said that?
Yeah, because he has entered the chat and said, "What does Josh shoot at Tuxedo tomorrow? My money is on plus 25."
Goodness.
So he's firing some heaters in the chat before the big game tomorrow. So I'll take
crazy.
The under. I'll take the under on that.
Yes, please take the under. Let me just say we have our annual golf tournament. I am the reigning champion. They need all the help. These guys, all my friends, they're spending a lot of money on golf clubs in order to try and keep up with me. Let me just say that. I am the reigning champion of our annual tournament. I plan it to keep it that way. But yeah, tomorrow is my first round of the year. I haven't even swung a club yet. Not even at the range, not nothing. So I'm wiping the dust off tomorrow. Tee box. Hole one at Tuxedo.
Love it.
Yeah.
Great stuff. And by the way, I am a subscriber to the Back Bacon Brief.
Appreciate that.
I'm loving the fantasy stuff. I'm all ready for the season now from reading this stuff. Fill people in on where they can get the other content you've got, because there's a lot of good stuff that you might not see in the free press. Yeah,
I'm trying not to give out I got to give out the secrets because I'm writing for people, but at the same time, there's a lot of people I play fantasy football with that are subscribed. So now they're seeing how I'm thinking.
Block them.
Exactly. So I'm already, I might be in tough come fantasy season. But anyways, yeah, Back Bacon Brief. That is in the link in my bio on my Twitter, on my X, and Instagram, all that stuff. And then also at the Janitor's Closet at TJC Bets on X, where we do some gambling stuff and all that good stuff. And then of course, all the stuff at the Freep. Just lots going on at the Freep.
Hey, enjoy a few days off. Good luck on the links tomorrow, and let's do this again soon, Josh. Really enjoyed the convo as always. Thanks for doing this.
Appreciate it, fellas. Take care.
We got the link for the Back Bacon Brief in the chat too. So if you haven't already jumped on that, do that. All right, Mike McIntyre is going to jump on with us in just a sec. Hey, as we said, no Bombers this week. Home opener, the 12th, Princess Auto Stadium. Should be a hell of a way to get the home schedule kicked off that hopefully will end with another home game for the Bombers at Princess Auto Stadium in November. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Blue and Gold and Winnipeg Sports Talk, and so much in our community. 3 locations in Manitoba where you'll find the best deals and the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon. And hey, if you can't make it out in person, you can shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. I cannot wait to get out to Aikens Lake. We're now into fishing season, everybody. And listen, if you've been thinking about maybe changing up your vacation plans in the summer, maybe you'd wanted to keep it in Manitoba, Aikens Lake is a place you should definitely check out. World-class fly-in fishing lodge where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. And as great as the fishing is, the hospitality from the Aikens team and the Turen family is even better. Go to aikenslake.com for more information on options and availability for the 2025 fishing season, and check out all of their social channels over at Aikens Lake. And just before we bring in Mike, big shout out to our friends at F Apparel. Wedding season, even weddings that don't actually have the bride and groom at it, like Remis experienced this weekend, you got to look good for it, folks. Custom suits, F Apparel, beginning at $400. Chinos, golf pants, shirts, both tucked and untucked styles. Best selection of menswear accessories around. And speaking of weddings, if you do have a wedding that you're in or hosting, great discount at F Apparel for wedding parties when you get your suits for the big day at F Apparel. It's all there, 190 Smith Street. Check them out online and make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F. That's EPHapparel.com. All right, Mike McIntyre joins us now. This one brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. Can we talk about how good this truck looks? Everywhere the Tundra goes, it is turning heads. From $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid available. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Mike McIntyre joins us now on WST. Mike, how was the weekend?
Great weekend, Huss. Had a bit of a stretch here of days off, which has been nice. Have not lifted a finger working since the Jets did their exit interviews, I guess now almost 2 weeks ago. So I had some nice time off, a little bit of golf, unlike my colleague, Josh. I have swung the club. Now, to be fair, I have not swung it very well. Well, I had one good round last week and then one really ugly round, which is the most recent one that's kind of sticking with me right now. But yeah, great to enjoy some of this warm weather we've been having. A little less smoke would be nice. Thankfully, with the rain today, maybe that'll help that situation. But yeah, good times. Did they hand out the Stanley Cup yet? It feels like they must have, right? Like it feels like the NHL has come to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
Only the NHL could zap its own momentum by taking 5 straight days off. Like,
well, hey, we're lucky. It was going to be longer.
I know.
It was supposed to start on Saturday. If we didn't get 5 and 5.
Yeah, I mean, what is this? The Super Bowl now? Like we take a full week to hype it up. That being said, I'll be tuning in starting Wednesday night. I'm fully invested. Sign me up for the rematch. I think it's going to be a great matchup. And hey, there's lots of local storylines. I know obviously Jets fans are disappointed that the Winnipeg Jets are not playing in it, but there's some local flavor. Calvin Pickard, of course, is there. You got Miles Fee, who's an assistant with the Florida Panthers. So I guess one way or another, Huss, the Stanley Cup is coming to Manitoba this summer. Whether it's Pickard's Oilers or Miles Fee's Panthers.
Well, you don't think Evander Kane will bring the cup back to Winnipeg if he wins?
Maybe fill it with a whole bunch of money phones. That would be fun.
Well, there is 2011 Jets on this. Evander Kane, of course, there. And, of course, Mark Stewart on the bench for the Edmonton Oilers as well. Kind of neat the way Stu has landed there. He was the one guy that avoided the house cleaning and, has been a big part of Knobloch's staff. Now back to the Cup final for their second time. And last year was all about Stu's PK unit that got them there.
It was. So when I was in Edmonton, actually going all the way back to game 1 of this past regular season, Jets fans no doubt remember a tidy 6-0 victory for the Jets. But I actually sat down with Mark Stewart sort of then before the season began, and we talked a lot about that magical run by the Oilers, and specifically the work of his PK unit, which was a huge factor in why the Oilers got to where they did. Now, their penalty kill has not been nearly as good this spring, but they've got a lot of other things going well for them right now that they're making it click. Yeah, if you want to talk ex-Jets, I mean, Kane, Stewart behind the bench, and of course, old friend Nate Schmidt. Who would have thought, Huss, that you got Kulikov and Schmidt? That's the third pairing on the Panthers. There was a lot of fans that wanted to run both those guys out of town.
Basically did.
Yeah, like there were some Jets fans that they couldn't wait to see both those guys hit the road, and look at them now. Now, I'll say this about Nate Schmidt. Like, he still had some game in him last year. It's just he was a victim of his own contract. He wasn't a $5 million player last year, and he's not a $5 million player this year either, but he's a heck of a value for what's he playing for, league minimum basically this year. And Dmitry Kulikov, like, there's something about those Panthers, us, and I know there's been talk of Sylvain Lefebvre, who's an assistant coach with Paul Maurice there. He's in charge of the D. They seem to be a bit of a defenseman factory. Like, look at the way they've even rehabilitated Seth Jones, another guy that, like, in Chicago, they couldn't run him out of there quick enough. And now he's a huge contributor in the top four on the Panthers. So they've got something pretty cool going on when it comes to their ability to turn, I guess, other people's trash into their own treasure in Florida. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the start of the Cup final this week. I'm not a huge fan of the schedule. They've stretched this thing out over, if it goes the distance, this is a 16-day Stanley Cup final. I know there's travel and whatnot, but
that's the same as the Jets Blues first round.
It is, yeah, and that thing felt like it was constantly stopping and starting and stopping and starting. So I mean, for all the people who say, like, the NHL should wrap itself up by early June or the end of May, like, then you look at a schedule like this and you say, well, what are they doing? Now, I know that they have to stick handle around the NBA, and obviously they don't want to be up against the NBA finals, and TV has their requests for what nights. It's just unfortunate that it's dragging out as long as it is, but looking forward to it. Should be a great series. By the way, Oilers in 7 is my prediction.
I like it.
Did you make a prediction yet, Huss?
I like it. Well, I am taking the Oilers. I don't think I've gotten right down to it, but I think I'm going to ride with you. Like, I think this is going to be a really tight series, and I give the Oilers the slightest nod, just that, in crunch time, if it's close in Game 7, I'm going to ride with 97 as the best player in the world to be that difference maker. But I do think it'll be a hell of a series. And, I was saying earlier, the last two rematches that we've seen in Cup final history, 83-84, Islanders-Oilers.
Yeah.
Islanders won their fourth championship, beating Edmonton. Next year, Edmonton wins. Wayne Gretzky gets his first cup. The other one, Detroit-Pittsburgh. Sidney Crosby loses the first time, then gets his revenge.
I see where you're going here.
Gets his first cup. So, I mean, Connor McDavid certainly belongs in that conversation of some of the all-time greats, especially Canadian greats. Kind of feel like it's somewhat in the cards. By the way, Mike, we were mentioning jet ties. We talked about Schmidt and Kulikov. We did not mention Jamie Compon and Paul Maurice. I have not spoken with you since the end of the Carolina-Florida series. What was your take on Maurice's? I mean, he's done a lot of pressers. There's some fun things. That business with the handshake afterwards and not wanting to do it, and then I don't know how it started. I think some coach just wanted to get on TV. I mean, are you kidding me? From Maurice? What did you think?
Pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul Maurice has never met a camera that he doesn't love to perform in front of. No question about that. The whole thing is a bit odd for sure, especially, folks have been posting photos and videos of Paul Maurice shaking hands in the past. Like, this is just something that just started, I guess, in round 2 against Toronto. So yeah, I mean, a little hypocritical for sure. I don't totally get it. Like, look, I love everything about the handshake line. I love the mutual respect, and the idea that coaches shouldn't be part of it. I don't know if you saw the clip, Huss. Pete DeBoer was mic'd up during the handshake line with the Jets.
Absolutely.
And that led to like a beautiful moment where, he's talking to Mark Scheifele. And like, I don't know, I love that stuff. Like, and I just think, I think it's a little nonsensical, little hypocritical, but if both coaches like agree to it ahead of time, I guess, okay, no harm. The way it played out between Carolina and Florida, like, that was really awkward because it looked like they were arguing, which I guess they kind of were, because Brindamore wanted to go in the line. And anyways, it should have been dealt with behind the scenes and not the public way it did. It wasn't a great look for Paul Maurice, that's for sure.
It was just bizarre. And listen, no one cares. I mean, if he doesn't want to do it, fine. But, to go through all of that and then, I mean, when asked about it, what he had to say was just completely bizarre from a guy. So anyways, it is funny to see how many people in the chat here and Winnipeg fans that I think normally would be predisposed to not support the Edmonton Oilers. Like, I don't know whether it's just been so damn long since a Canadian team won it. I mean, I always wanted the Jets to be the team to do it,
right.
But I've sort of come to peace with where we're at right now. And I can't help it, but I think I'm pulling for Edmonton to get it done over Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Winnipeggers and Edmontonians, we have a lot in common. Our cities are not that different. The hockey teams may be a little bit different. The Jets don't have a generational star like Connor McDavid, clearly. But yeah, I think the whole, ghosts of the Smythe division past, and I think some of that's been exercised. Maybe a lot of that for local fans. Like, maybe when the Jets swept the Oilers in the bubble playoffs there, that might have been like a bit of an exorcism in a way for fans. Like,
except there were no fans.
That's true.
That's the problem.
That's true. I mean, you're right. You're right about that. But, Jets Oilers still is a pretty good rivalry. And, the Jets were an overtime goal in game 6 and a home win in game 7 away from facing the Oilers, which, I mean, hindsight is always 20/20. Given the way the Oilers played in that series, given the fact we know Josh Morrissey would not have been available for the Jets, and like, look, the Dallas Stars, they were the healthiest they were all playoffs. They had Miro Heiskanen, and they were still, ushered out in 5 games. Like, I don't know how that series against the Jets would have played out. We'll never know because it didn't happen, but that would have been a lot of fun. Edmonton, Winnipeg with a trip to the Stanley Cup final on the line. So I don't know, maybe they'll do it again next year. One thing I think, a big takeaway for me, Huss, to all of this, the Oilers and the Panthers both finished 3rd in their division. They won not 1, not 2, but all 3 playoff series starting on the road. That didn't frighten them one bit. These are professional teams with players that have largely been there before, because they just were a year ago, with the exception of a few players on each roster. That just shows that all the talk of a winning mindset, a winning culture, that's more than just talk. It's reality. And the Oilers and the Panthers, they have it. And I'm not to say they tanked their regular season or they went easy in the regular season, but they clearly have the ability to turn a switch when it's needed, or to flip a switch, and they have. And, as we look ahead to what could the Jets take from all of this, well, not to say that the Jets aren't going to try to win the President's Trophy next year, but clearly the idea of just getting in and then playing your best hockey. Like, there's really something to that. And, that's where if you're the Jets, you hope that you learn some additional lessons by how these playoffs played out, and you now take those into next season and, most importantly, next playoffs.
Let's get to the Jets. I'm going to throw out the why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGilvery to the chat. Frank Cervelli has his top 50 free agent list out. We'll remove the RFAs from this conversation because I think you'll assume that the Jets will find a way, whether it's now, whether it's later, to get the likes of Sandberg signed, Velarde signed, Morgan Barron too, who I think it was going to be very interesting to see what that contract looks like and how long it is. Because I think his importance is ratcheted up big time with Adam Lowry being out to begin the season. But the question for you is, what is the number one priority for the Winnipeg Jets offseason in your mind? Let us know in the chat right now for the why not question of the day. Obviously, the 2C position is huge, but I heard Elliot Friedman talking about it. I mean, this is not unique to Winnipeg. This is a situation that many teams find themselves in, Mike. And, obviously some teams do better or have more options in free agency than others. Hard to not sort of start at that spot, considering how long we've been talking about it. Knowing that potentially with Nikolai Ehlers maybe not back, you're looking at a very, very different line too. With that hole at center, with all due respect to Vlad Nemetsnikov, and potentially Ehlers not being there to drive that line.
Yeah, and to me, the 2C position is the number one priority. And I know there's been some intersection of talk about Jonathan Toews, who I see Frank Cervelli has as number 8 on his top 50 free agents. And if
ahead
you're going
of Ehlers.
if you're going by centers, Jonathan Toews is the number 4 center. Sam Bennett is number 1 center, number 2 overall behind Mitch Marner. Sam Bennett will not be coming to Winnipeg. I think we can probably put that to bed. John Tavares and Matt Duchene are the next 2 top centers, and then there's Jonathan Toews. My point being, I'll state this very clearly. Jonathan Toews is not the answer to the 2C question. Do I think Jonathan Toews could be a good addition?
How do you know?
He's certainly not. I mean, if you're putting your eggs in that basket again on a 37-year-old guy that hasn't played in 2 years, I think that is extremely risky.
That I agree with. The one thing that I will say on this for people that just you can't. I think it's very dangerous to just write off Jonathan Toews.
I agree.
Because, I mean, like I said this last week on the show, there's no way that he's coming back just to be some fourth line guy. Like, I firmly believe that if he is committed 100% to this comeback, it's because he thinks he can be a very good version of himself. And if that's the case, I don't rule it out like a lot of other people, but I do agree with you. You need to have some contingency plans because it's far from a sure thing. Yeah. But I do think the low-cost acquisition with some performance bonuses would be a bet that I think any team would be willing to take.
Yeah, and I just think a 2C can't be the starting point. If he shocks you, and I mean, great. If he could play up, absolutely. But I think the Jets need to address the 2C question in a significant way this offseason. And then, again, with injuries and whatnot, I mean, you're going to need depth as the season progresses. And we already know that the Jets are going to be without the guy that's kind of the de facto 2C at times in Adam Lowry, whether it's just for a couple games or multiple weeks, we don't know. I mean, Lowry's timeline would be somewhere near the end of October to the end of November. We know the season's probably going to start in early October. So, I mean, again, not the end of the world, but there's going to be an opening right off the hop for another centerman in the Jets organization. So while I do think Toews makes sense, I think the Jets have to think bigger and specifically younger when it comes to the 2C position. And, you look at some of the names, just scanning the list here that Frank has. I mean, certainly Matt Duchene is an interesting name. his contract he's 34, and Frank's projecting a 3-year, $7.2 million deal. One name that kind of interests me a little bit, Huss, and we certainly saw a lot of him a few weeks ago, and that is Mikael Granlund, who had a really nice series against the Jets. He had a really nice season, period, starting in San Jose, joined the Stars, was very good for them. He's a guy that he's 33. The projection by Frank is 2 years at $5 million. I have to think if that's what it took, like that's got to be of some interest to the Jets. It should be, quite frankly. And then we talk about potential internal options. But again, I also think kind of like assuming Taves could step into that role, it would be equally dangerous to assume that Braden Yeager or Brad Lambert could immediately jump into that role and thrive. Now, could they have great training camps and push their way into the conversation? Absolutely. And that would be ideal. But to me, you'd almost want to have too much of a good thing rather than not enough. And we just saw in these playoffs, Huss, as key injuries started to pile up, the scoring started to dry up, the Jets kind of ran out of bodies. And it cost them. So I think, and I saw that letter Mark Chipman sent to fans a week or so ago, and it was interesting. The tone of it, I think, was encouraging, where he said, our resolve to bring a Stanley Cup is stronger than ever. And I think you have to be encouraged by when the owner's saying the sort of things that Mark Chipman did. But I think a lot of that has to start with addressing that second line center spot, whether it's by free agency or a trade this summer.
Yeah, we just going down that list. You can get some guys. A Granlund would be a guy that I think would be an upgrade, and you could bring him in for a couple years. But again, you're talking about, another player on the other side of 30.
Yeah.
With where the team is, they would love to be able to get a guy in with some term on his contract that can grow into that position. And maybe it's a guy that they already have, as you mentioned, but I don't think the time is now. But really, finding someone that will be here beyond a stopgap, I would assume is the number one priority for Kevin Cheveldayoff when we get in. Where are you at on Ehlers right now? As we hear more reports, not really anything from him or so.
No.
I don't know why. And maybe it's just you get influenced by what you hear from other people outside of the market, how dialed in they are, I'm not sure. But it does feel like, the longer this goes and the closer we get to July 1st, the more likely we might be seeing Nikolai Ehlers in a different jersey next year.
Yeah, we know that there was that 2-hour meeting a few weeks ago. Obviously, there was a whirlwind with the playoffs and then the World Championship for Ehlers. That dust has now settled for a good week. And I got to think, Huss, the time for playing games is over here. And so if you're the Jets, you've probably made it clear what your best offer would look like. If you're Ehlers, I got to think he's conversed to the Jets what exactly he's looking for. And if there's some common ground and some room to kind of meet in the middle, I'd have to think that that's going to happen in really short order here. And if it doesn't, as we sit here today, June the 2nd? Free agency basically starts 4 weeks from tomorrow. I don't see this as something that goes right down to the wire. If it's going to happen with the Jets, I think it's going to happen fairly soon. I don't think it's going to be an 11th hour type of deal. And so I'm with you. I'd say every day that passes that there's not a Nikolai Ehlers extension, I would probably add a percentage or two to the likelihood that he's gone. And so I think a week or two ago, I think I told you I was around 60% that he was gone. Still had about a 40% thought that he might be back. I'd say with every day that passes, you can add 1 or 2% to that 60. And, if we're still here in a couple weeks, and there's still no deal, I think it's closer to 100% at that point, because, again, I just think that both sides given their long relationship, they'd be pretty blunt with each other as to where they are right now. And the Jets will want some certainty as well. Don't think they want to leave it till 11:59 p.m. Prior to Canada Day. So, yeah, I mean, it's not encouraging, I guess, that we're still sitting here today and nothing's happened. But there is still a little bit of time, I'd say, just not a whole lot.
Mike, great stuff. We had Josh on, but just on the way out, congratulations to your colleagues. Our buddy Hammer, big award on the weekend.
Yes, great stuff. Nice to see sports guys exercising their journalistic chops in other areas, and Jeff's done a great job for us doing some investigative pieces. You know, there was like the Graham James stuff that he did, and this stuff that he did with Katrina was terrific. So yeah, richly deserved. Great to see, and always nice to see the hardware coming into the office.
Well, listen, I mean, we're lucky to have a publication like the Free Press with the work that they do. I mean, considering the state of media and newspapers everywhere else. So well deserved. Yeah. And I know everyone at the Free very happy and pleased for your colleagues and our pal.
This is not a toot my own horn thing at all, but I just got my Sovereign Award from the Canadian Jockey Club. They couriered it to me last week for my piece that I did on Alyssa Selman, the jockey that was paralyzed at Assiniboia Downs. You should see this thing. I've always wanted to own a horse. This thing is nearly as big and as heavy as an actual horse. It is an enormous trophy. I couldn't make the awards. The award ceremony was in April, and the Jets were playing the Blues that night. Like otherwise, I was going to go to the award ceremony. I have no idea how I would have got that thing back home on an airplane had I actually attended, because it is enormous. But it's a beautiful horse trophy. So my wife said to me, "Well, now you've finally got your horse." And it
post a picture for us on your feed.
I will indeed.
The people need to see the size of this monstrosity.
Yes.
Mike, great stuff as always. Thanks for doing this. So we'll catch up soon.
You bet, Huss. Have a great week.
There's Mike McIntyre, Winnipeg Free Press, off for a few days, and he'll be back. We're going to head out to Edmonton in just a minute and tee up the Stanley Cup final with our pal Tom Gazzola from Edmonton Sports Talk. Of course, if you are a latecomer, you're jumping on a bandwagon for the final, you know, there's one place where you can always get not just the best in home team gear, but the entire National Hockey League and really almost any team playing North American sports. That, of course, is Royal Sports, your number one sports superstore in town. Also got a great selection of new bomber gear that's just come in. Many exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. But as we get into the nice weather and want to make the most of summer, head on down to Royal. Soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, tons of bikes, including e-bikes. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports with great deals. And follow them on Insta at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drop, sale information. We'll keep you apprised of the next famous Royal tent sale this year. Boston Pizza is going to be the place to be Wednesday night for game number 1 of the Cup final. And watch the Oilers and Panthers on the screen with big sound. And, of course, chow down on that amazing Boston Pizza playoff menu, which includes the Canadian All-Star Poutine, the Wing Flights, the Scoville Showdown, and the new Triple Pep Pizza and the Wingman Pizza as well. And, hey, if you are staying at home, any night you can get it hot and fast to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Let's give a big cheers to our friends at Little Brown Jug before we bring in Handsome Tommy.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, Tom Gazzola is coming in now. This segment is brought to you by Ben Moss. Ben Moss is proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years. 3 locations in Winnipeg, Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. Ben Moss is committed to customer satisfaction. Check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your need. For more information, check out benmoss.com. Ben Moss, because love is timeless. Perfect intro to Lance Romance himself, Tom Gazzola, who joins us now from Edmonton Sports Talk. What's going on, buddy? What was the weekend like in Edmonton? The calm before the storm?
Yeah, it was quite pleasant. There was a nice little repose for everyone to kind of collect themselves. There was the Elks game on Friday, and then a little Whale and the Wolf local band here. They've made their tracks across the country over the last few years, but it was a nice, enjoyable weekend. Windy as hell, Huss, but it was overall pretty good. So now all of that is put to the side, and we just get ready for game one of the Stanley Cup final. And I just got back from the rink. Dave Pagnotta from the fourth period was here doing his hit, and then I was getting ready to hop on here. It's very busy, and that's just like a small indicator of how crazy the Stanley Cup final is. And the roads around the arena are being shut down. They've got all the extra trucks in place. The building was a hive of activity. They're taking out sections of seats to put in studio spaces for the broadcasters, and it's very much on now, and it just kind of hits you in the face if you're not ready for it. I think the worst part is when you like are so used to like going in to a certain door, or you have your routine, how you get set up at the rink for an Oilers game day, and all that's thrown out the window because the NHL takes over everything, and all the routine is thrown out of whack. And some people handle it better than others, but I think it's just part of the fun.
I know there's a lot of bitching. Oh my God, we got to wait forever for this to get going. There is a lot that goes into setting up the Cup final. Mm-hmm. You've got international media traveling from around the world. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So, I mean, I get it. I'm certainly happy it's starting on Wednesday as opposed to next Saturday.
Yeah.
Which would have been an eternity. And I guess tomorrow's media day. I guess last year media day would have been in South Florida, so I guess most of the local Edmonton people weren't there. I mean, what's going on tomorrow? And it'll just be one interview after another at one big podium, or I guess they're going to set the guys up almost Super Bowl style, where you can go in and hit a bunch and everyone's at their own little booth.
Yeah, I think they do those like little pod podiums that they do at like the draft and one-off events like Heritage Classics, and I think they do them as well at All-Star games. I think that's how they're going to do it tomorrow. And I'm just looking at the events for tomorrow. So Media Gate opens at 10, practice for the Oilers at 11. Availability will be in the interview room that is located in the downtown community rink. It's kind of neat, Huss, how they use the practice rink that's attached to Rogers Place, called the Downtown Community Arena, and they basically take the entire ice sheet, cover it with carpet. It's all blacked out. You got your NHL banners hanging all over the place, and I think that's where they're going to like set up the little podiums for everybody. And the Panthers will have their availability at 2:00, and then that's going to be the day. So I feel like that's how they'll do it, unless they want to do it at the one podium. But the NHL, because it is a big process. You're right, and they're pretty nimble, and they've done this so many times, and it's incredible how much of a well-oiled machine it is. So that space, the practice rink, they turned it into a nice media room with all the work tables and everything you need, little snack booth and everything, and then the podium. I said this earlier on the Oil Stream to Reed Wilkins. I said, this facility here in Edmonton, this will be the third Stanley Cup final that it plays host to. They really did think of pretty much everything. I'm sure it wasn't perfect, but any type of situation that arises, they have a way to accommodate, and it shines in situations like this.
Let me ask you this, Tommy. At the start of the playoffs, this team, never mind not looking championship caliber, they didn't even look like they belonged in the playoffs.
Yeah.
How did it all change so quickly in game number 3? And I mean, are you surprised that this team, They have looked incredible literally since that moment of Jim Hiller's infamous challenge.
Yeah, that was insane. And, you know, that's another debate that's kind of raged on here is who imploded the worst, Jim Hiller or Pete DeBoer, right? I mean, my goodness. But certainly the turning point maybe of the playoffs for the Oilers was that sequence with the Kane goal that gets challenged. Hiller, wrong decision, obviously, and then the Oilers get the power play and score 10 seconds later, and all of a sudden they've got life in this series against the LA Kings. It took a real smack in game one and then another one in game two from the Kings to both sides of the Oilers' face to wake up. And the players from the Oilers' standpoint all said that it felt like it was playing games 83 and 84 of the regular season. Like that's the caliber of play that they were providing on the ice. And yeah, they weren't ready for the Kings in game one, and they did have a miraculous comeback in game one in the third period, only to have it blown out by a kind of a muffled flutter puck by Philip Deneau after McDavid had tied it. And then they go into game two, and they're keeping it close, but they were still down. It was 3-2 for a while, and then the Kings opened things up, and all of a sudden they were going back to Edmonton down 0-2, and things weren't looking particularly great in game three, and they've had some fortuitous opportunities and moments, and one of those was Jim Hiller. Like, Huss, I remember in the second intermission of that third game against the Kings, chatting with like our peers from LA up in the press box, just casually talking, and one of them just said, "Hey, it's going to be okay, Tom. Like your team that you cover had a good run." And I said, honestly, if this is it, I'm going to enjoy the time away. Like it sucks and the team will have to regroup, but we'll have lots to discuss on Edmonton Sports Talk, and it's still probably going to be a good team, and I can go golfing. Like for me, I was like, I'll be okay. And sure enough, that wild third period went down, and you always think to like those little moments, and you're like, karma's a weird thing. And then at the end of the day, I was like, I still really want to golf, but it was just bizarre. Like Quentin Byfield had an opportunity to clear a puck and ice a game, and he saw the empty net. Instead of a little chip and chase, Huss, he tried to drag it out through his own zone, and Evan Bouchard stopped him, and the puck went back the other way for a goal, and the Oilers ended up winning that game. And it's insane, the little things, the moments that have happened in this playoff for the Oilers after a very bad start where they looked like they were stuck in regular season mode, and they've found a way to turn it around. And quite frankly, like if you want to talk about a switch being flipped, I know that's something that people don't believe in. This Oilers team, with all the guys who came back from injury to start the postseason, it took them a couple of games, but they're able to flip that switch, and they've not looked back since. 12-2 since they went down 0-2 to LA.
Well, they've been incredible. And full marks. I mean, taking care of Vegas in 5, and then the Dallas Stars in 5. I mean, this is a team that seems to be poised for a different result than last year. When I look at this series, I really do think it's incredibly close. We'll see if the layoff affects Stuart Skinner at all, because he couldn't stop anything at the start of the playoffs, and he's been a brick wall basically for the last 2 series for the most part. I think the defense cores, like with Ekholm back, are comparable. I mean, you might give a slight advantage to Florida, but I mean, I don't think it's significant. And then when I look at the forward groups, I think the Panthers have an advantage in the top 6, or in the bottom 6, I should say. But they don't have Connor McDavid, and they don't have Leon Draisaitl, as great as that top 6 and really top 9 is. So to me, I mean, I kind of lean on the Oilers just on account of, like, if this is a close, really tight series, I want the team that is able to put out 97 right now. But there's not a lot to pick through from these teams based on the path that they've got to get here.
It's interesting too, and this is something that I strongly believe in, with the way Edmonton was able to dispose of Vegas and Dallas, and then the way that the Panthers took care of the Lightning. I know the Leafs gave them a run, took them to 7, but I mean, games 5 and 7, the Panthers just stomped all over Toronto. The fact that Toronto got it to 7 was a bit of a miracle in my opinion. But they're very efficient against a Carolina team that was kind of picked to be a Stanley Cup favorite since day one of the season. And so I look at these two clubs and, we dissect the roster, especially we have a couple of extra days to take a look at them and build up this series. These are two teams, and everything we've seen from them through rounds 1 through 3 indicate to us that they're built to win the Stanley Cup. And I think that this is going to be Florida's biggest matchup. I think this is going to be Edmonton's biggest matchup, though that old cliche. I think the Oilers have 2024 very much at the forefront of their mind. The Panthers, as they should, have the championship pedigree and know full well what comes with being in the final, obviously, over the last 2 playoff years. So we're in for a hell of a battle. I think it's going to be a punch, counterpunch type of series. I think it's gonna be wild. I think it's going to go maybe the distance, 6 or 7. The Oilers' mettle is going to be tested because they've done everything in terms of learning lessons on what it takes to win a championship that they possibly can without actually winning one. They've lost to the last 3 Stanley Cup finalists in the playoffs, or Stanley Cup champions, I should say. And maybe now it's their turn, but the Panthers are no slouch, and this is going to be a slobber knocker, I think, because these two teams have a little bit of that rapport, and they both have that championship pedigree. And you're right, the differences in caliber of elements of the team game, forwards, defense, goaltenders, right now, I think it's pretty minimal. It's probably going to come down to a small mistake here or there every single game. If we have some blowouts like we did last year, I would be a little bit surprised just because how tightly contested I feel like they're going to play against each other. I think we're in for a bunch of 1-goal games.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be a great series. I'm looking forward. How big of a loss is Zach Hyman, and who, when you look at the lineup without Hyman, who's the guy that is going to get bigger opportunity but really needs to step up in his absence?
First of all, a huge loss, without question. Hyman, his ability to play a physical game, he's on pace to set a record for hits in the postseason, which isn't really his MO, but he just kind of did it. He finished every check he could. And then he would score some big goals. He would set up some big goals. He's a glue guy, Huss. Everybody on the team likes him. He's easy to talk to. And then he goes and he puts in 110% effort every practice, and then he does it all every game, and he gets results, and he doesn't complain, and he had his nose broken, and he takes Bush bombs off his knee, and he comes back after wincing. So it's a huge loss, but there are guys on this Oilers team this year compared to last that I think are more suited for this situation. We're a week and a bit removed from Connor Brown Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner being the Oilers' healthy scratches at forward. Those are 2 longtime NHL players, effective NHL players that have been through the rigors of for Skinner, no playoffs, but he does have 2 points in 2 games. And he does have a
point a game player in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, exactly. People keep praising, well, have a Tom. He's got a goal and an assist in the playoffs. That's nice, but you need big boy hockey, and that's not really his style. Although he did step in well in Game 5, scored a goal and has been efficient on his time that he's been out there. But Victor Arvidsson, I think, has been good since he was reinserted into the lineup. Connor Brown should be good to go. Connor Brown, I think you could kind of look at him as a Zach Hyman light. Obviously, Hyman become a prolific scorer since he's joined the Oilers.
And a hit machine.
And a hit machine. But Brown does play a tenacious game.
Yeah.
Brown has elevated his play in the postseason. He does muck it up. He does get in there. He just got popped by Alex Petrovic in that last series, and it cost him some time. But, they do have capable guys this year that are veteran NHL guys compared to last year where, they were relying on a Dylan Holloway, who's an upstart guy, AHL guy for a good chunk of last year, starting to find his groove at the NHL level. Their other options when they ran into injury or guys weren't performing last year was like Sam Carrick or Derek Ryan, right? They don't have to do that. They have good long-term NHL players that they've had to sit out and can utilize when there are injuries, and they've had to tap into that. So that to me has been a boon for the Oilers, and that's how they're going to have to fill the hole that Zach Hyman leaves behind.
Hey, Tommy, just before we go, got got to ask you because you were on the other side of it, but did the Oilers break the Dallas Stars? What a crazy end to the season. And I mean, the benching of Ottinger and just the way that it was done, the way DeBoer went and then back in the bus over him afterwards. It's a very interesting locker cleanout day for the Stars over on the weekend. And I mean, we've kicked it around. We listened to a bunch of the stuff. I mean, obviously them being in the division and being the team that represented the Central the last few years, it's been interesting from afar to watch it, but hard to believe that was the same team, that beat the Jets in overtime in game number 6, won game number 1, and then just got absolutely steamrolled. And now huge offseason questions coming out of game 5 and how things ended for Dallas.
Hey, as soon as I saw Ottinger get pulled, and then they showed that one bench shot of how DeBoer kind of yelled at him to get off the ice, I was like, that's not good. You just embarrassed your starting goalie, who I know DeBoer doubled down in his post-game presser about how the Oilers had Ottinger's number and this and that. I'll be honest with you, the Oilers have had pretty much every goalie they've faced and their numbers. Kemper being a Vezina finalist, they had his number. They took advantage of Aiden Hill, and then they got to Jake Ottinger. And I actually thought Jake Ottinger was the Stars' best player in Game 4. I thought he was okay. And when DeBoer doubled down, the first thing that I had in my mind, because people were texting it into the post-game show while we were on the air, what DeBoer had said about Ottinger in his post-game presser. And in my mind, I was just like, oh, he's done. DeBoer is not coming back as the coach. Because one guy has an 8-year contract under his belt. The other guy, I mean, is hired to be fired. And to me, I don't know how they bridge that gap and mend the fence or any cliche you want to throw out there, because he embarrassed him the way he pulled him. And then B, like you said, Huss, ran him over going back the other way. So to me, instinctually, I was like, Pete DeBoer's done in Dallas. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, 1 year left on his deal, I believe, but that is going to be it'll be interesting to see if they're all lovey-dovey when things get going again in September. I think this could be leave a mark as well on Ottinger. Tommy, I know a lot of people here going to be kind of living vicariously through all of you guys. Fill people in on what the content scene is like for you and the EST team as we get ready for puck drop.
Yeah, we've Edmonton Sports Talk Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We've got a whole great slew of shows. It starts with Nielsen in the morning, and then Reed Wilkins in the afternoon, and then pre and post game. We get going an hour before puck drop, and myself, Matt Cassian, Hernan Salas, Reed Wilkins hops on there. We've got you covered wall to wall. It's a great station, and we highly encourage you to check it out. We have a lot of fun, and we're lucky to have some great people working for us.
Say what's up to the boys for me, especially Latino Heat.
I will. Say hi to Bolin Moss for me. I see he's ready to go.
You bet. Jake's in the bullpen for firing up that rubber arm. Hey, you have a good one, buddy. We'll stay tuned and hopefully hook up later on during the series.
I think we should do that, Huss. I love it.
Appreciate it, buddy. There's Tommy G, Tom Gazzola. Pre and post Edmonton Sports Talk, the hangout in the morning after Dusty show. Great to have Tommy here on the program. All right, Gold Eyes back in action this weekend. And we're going to have a chance to get out to the ballpark for the second homestand of the year, beginning tomorrow against Kane County. And then a weekend series against Kansas City. So 6 games starting tomorrow night. Tickets 982 base. We do have a few remaining seats, but not many, for the WST patio party at the ballpark Thursday, June 19th. If you do not have your tickets yet, join us. Go to winnipegsportstalk.com, click on the link, get your tickets, and we will look forward to seeing you at the ballpark on Thursday, June 19th. But in the meantime, 6 games. Should be a nice week. Great time to get out there if you haven't been to a game so far this season. We'll get to Assiniboia Downs a little bit later on after we do the Coolbet lines with JBM. But congratulations are in order for our Breezy Bend Golf Report to the winners of the Match Play Championship, which of course was presented by St. Patel Dental Center. Congratulations to Addison Cardouche from St. Charles, Jordy Lutz from Elmhurst, and Cornell Ruddock from Southwood, who are the gold medal winners of the 2025 Match Play. Cardouche won the women's division for a second straight year and the fourth time in her career, defeating Jerry LaFleche of Niagara. Lutz won his second men's division championship, beating Michael Tanchak from Niagara 2-1. And Ruddock is his first Golf Manitoba provincial championship, a 3-2 decision over Blair Neal. Of course, all of our golf reports on WST are brought to you by Breezy Bend, home of this year's Manitoba Open. If you'd like more information on maybe making Breezy your long-term golfing home for you and your family, talk to Corey Johnson at the clubhouse about getting on the waiting list or find out more information over at breezybend.ca. All right, JBM's coming up. Do want to quickly get to fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. And I mean, every time Gazzola comes on, there is plenty of hair chat, handsome Tommy references, Tony Gonzola, Phyllis, big happy that Tommy's here, and Jet Oil, Tommy Short Shorts. Yes, he was here. And Uke, the big Uke. Tom's been growing his playoff beard since 2014, and you can almost see it. You go, Tom. He's just one of our best. And now, people like this is getting back to the crux of it as to whether people can stomach cheering for the Oilers. Miller Time 1980, speaking what a lot of Winnipeg fans are saying, just hate the Oil. This is so painful. Some people have come around. Rick Book says, I should be hating Dallas, Avs, Blues more. And oh, the Wild. This isn't the Smythe anymore. And it's your boy Bruce who just says, he's going to go Rob Lowe. I'm just wearing my NHL logo cap for the finals. Keep your feedback coming into Fans First. By fans, for fans, no fees. Bomber tickets all season long. Buying, selling, available over at fansfirst.ca. All right, let's bring in my pal Jake Bolin Moss from Coolbet as we get to the Coolbet lines. Big CFL 110 tomorrow, where Hammer and I are going to be making our favorite futures bets for the CFL season, in addition to all the big stories going into week number 1. Jake, what's going on? How's the weekend?
Weekend was good, Huss. Weekend was good. Took it easy. Nothing too crazy. Trying to remember. I didn't do a whole lot. Went to the movies on Thursday. Caught the new Lilo and Stitch live action. Didn't mind it. Wasn't too bad. Brought back some nostalgia, some memories from my childhood. So pretty good. We talked about the CFL. You have those player props all season player props back online. So you and Hammer will be ready to go for tomorrow's CFL 110.
Yeah, big night tonight of studying and decision making on our favorite value plays for the MOP, as well as some totals going on. You got to be in a good mood these days because hockey season's over for both of us. But your Blue Jays are starting to win some games. The Bats came alive against the lowly Athletics on the weekend.
Yeah, it's funny. They had gone like 3 straight games with 12 plus runs, and I'm texting my buddies ahead of game 4 in that series, and I'm like, boys, do we just got to bet the over today? Like, am I a sucker if I jump on the over? And I end up leaving it alone. I didn't get a lot of good feedback from my buddies, and then sure enough, they light it up in like the 8th. I think they ended up winning 8-4 yesterday. So a ton of runs on the weekend, which is good to see from the Blue Jays. I think they're a game out of the wild card spot, last wild card spot in the AL right now. So, I didn't really have a lot of big plans of following the Jays outside of whatever my score app's telling me. But, the girlfriend probably won't be happy to hear that I might be tuned into a few more games in the coming weeks here, depending on how they play. And Huss, I mean, I don't know if you told the people, we're going to be in the building on Thursday afternoon for a little Phillies Jays action. So we'll see. Maybe they'll have a chance to win a series at that point, and we can do some content from the old box.
I cannot wait. We're going to have, definitely. I mean, give us a follow if you haven't already, and make sure to follow the Coolbet Canada page because, it's going to be a fun weekend. We're going to be out at the Canadian Open. We're going to do some Blue Jays. I just found out at the soccer game on the weekend that Canada, the men's national team, is playing Ukraine on Saturday as well. I'm going to see if I can manage to do a double dip, get out to Mayo's show in the afternoon, and then rip over to BMO potentially for that soccer match, which should be really fun. And then obviously final round on Sunday, as well as the Blue Jays. So lots going on for that. Listen, this is the time where everyone's getting ready over at Coolbet for the Stanley Cup final, Jake. As we look at it right now, and I'm not surprised, the Oilers are now minus 125 favorites. Florida plus 104. I think that number more just reflects the amount of Edmonton fans and Canadians that are backing the Oilers right now. I mean, I think in reality, the number probably should be closer to where it opened, which was very close to a pick'em. But there's a lot to love about this series. And I guess Florida at plus 104 is a nice value bet, but in something like this, you just got to go with the team that you think is going to win and hold the trophy at the end.
Yeah, listen, I mean, this tweet hasn't gone out yet, but I spoke with our head NHL bookmaker, just to see kind of where we're at, if there was a side we were leaning towards. Neither outcome is going to be good for us. It's kind of like the way I want this series to go, no one winning, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. So Florida takes a little bit less of a hurt for us, so that's kind of where we'll be rooting in terms of the book. Edmonton, as you can imagine, that'll be a pretty
tons of futures on Edmonton, I bet.
Ton of futures on Edmonton, and I'm sure more people getting in on them right now. In terms of Conn Smythe, I asked him about that as well. Did anyone but McDavid, Barkov, or Stuart Skinner, believe it or not? So it's an interesting wave. There must be some bets on Skinner. He's probably ahead of the last round, and we saw what he's able to do in a few games. Some surprising starts from him.
He's dropped from 40 to 1 to 35 to 1. But let me ask you this, because we just talked about Edmonton being minus 125 to win the Cup. Would we not just be better betting Connor McDavid to win the Conn Smythe at even money? I mean, he did win that last year in a losing cause. I have a hard time imagining the Oilers winning the Cup and Connor McDavid not being the guy grabbing the Conn Smythe trophy.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you're backing the Oilers in this series, and one of my buddies actually did this last week. He sent us over his ticket. He had big money on McDavid to win the Conn Smythe. I think he got it, maybe when it was like plus 110. But if you're going to back the Oilers in the series, I have a hard time seeing McDavid not win the Conn Smythe. Like you talked about it. You talked about destiny. Like this kind of is fulfilling destiny for Connor McDavid. You laid it out already. Like same things happen with Gretzky. He goes to his first Cup final, doesn't get it done. Next season, gets there again, wins it. Sidney Crosby goes to his first Cup final, gets there again, wins it. And now we're going to see Connor McDavid in a rematch against the Florida Panthers with a chance to, kind of write his own history here. And, the whole team feel like they've been on a mission. Like, I feel like this playoffs, they've been a lot more dominant than they were a season ago. And I wonder, Huss, I was just thinking about this before jumping on. This is the third straight Cup final for the Florida Panthers. Like, how much more gas do they got in the tank? They've been playing some tough series. I know they took care of Carolina pretty well, but went 7 with the Leafs, and they play a very physical, hard brand of hockey. Like, how long can that last until they're pretty beat up? You think about Tampa, kind of before this Florida era where they went to 3 straight. And by the third one, they were pretty out of gas, and Colorado took care of them in that one. So I do wonder, how much hockey that they've played is going to affect what they're going to look like here. And I do kind of lean Edmonton, but I can't. I know if this was the Toronto Maple Leafs and a different scenario, someone else in the West, Edmonton fans would not be rooting for the Leafs. So in no world am I going to be rooting for them.
You're probably not wrong. The Leafs have a special place in everybody's heart. Well, it's interesting offseason though for your boys. I'm very interested as to see what happens over the course of the next month. Couple other markets if you want to get in before they drop the puck. You've got goal props, point props for most of the big stars. You can take a spread in the series. You can bet exact, like for instance, Edmonton in 7. It's 4-1. I kind of do like this one to go the distance. I think total games over 6.5. So to go to 7 plus 160, don't mind that at all. And obviously you got Conn Smythe props as well as the top goal scorer in the series. Draisaitl 3-1, McDavid 4-1, Tkachuk and Reinhart 7-1, Barkov and Bennett 10-1 amongst the others. Marchand 17-1. That might be worth something. He's going to come up big and make his impact on the series so far. And as far as game 1 goes, which is in Edmonton, the money line is Oilers minus 129, Panthers plus 110. Hey, just before we go, shout out to Pat and me, Barry Horowitz. The Sunday Sweat Club came through. But Jake, I had the worst beat in the golf on the weekend. Patrick Cantlay on the 13th hole was 3 under par. 5 bogeys coming in, including 16, 17, and 18 to move out of the top 10 and screw my top 10 bet. Cantlay, I never liked him. I held my nose picking him because he always does well at the Memorial. Sometimes I think you just got to realize that there's guys that you don't jive with and you don't bet them. That was an absolute heartbreaker. I could not believe it went the way that it did last night. Of course, Scotty Scheffler ran away with it.
Yeah, Huss, put him on the list. Like, you know the rules. Put him on the list permanently and don't take him off. I think that's, you were pounding the table for Cantlay all week, and then he ends up doing that to you. It's gut wrenching. It's heart, like, rip your heart out of your chest. Listen, I don't do a ton of golf betting, but I'm in a group chat with Pat and Huss, and they were going back and forth, and all of a sudden Huss throws out a message and he goes, "Oh my God, Cantlay just bogeyed the last 3 holes. Like, he's out of the top 10. I can't believe this." And then he was tweeting about it. Huss was at some Pride events yesterday, and he was tweeting about Cantlay still. He just couldn't let it go. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, Huss, and I don't think you'll have to worry. I don't think Cantlay's in the field this week. So you can just focus on Canadian Open and put that one behind you.
Can't wait for it. Patty and I'll get into that tomorrow on the show. I was for sure the only person at any Pride event watching the 18th hole of the Memorial trying to get updates on Patrick Cantlay, who wasn't even close to winning the tournament. Anyways, you win some, you lose some. That was the phone on. Oh, yeah, look at that beautiful shot there, Reem, with Winnipeg in the background. Very well attended. Everyone having fun, with the exception of anyone that bet Patrick Cantlay, top 10 yesterday at the damn Memorial. Great stuff. Well, dude, I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few days for what should be a great weekend. And, of course, we'll crank out some fun stuff on the Coolbet socials, and we'll dive into that Canadian Open before I leave Wednesday tomorrow with Pat on the program.
Yeah, boys. Thursday, we'll be at the Jays game. Friday at the Open. So, tune into Huss's socials, my socials, and the Coolbet socials for some content there. And who knows, maybe we'll meet up again on the weekend and do some fun stuff as well.
Looking forward to it, dude. Thanks so much. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Huss.
You can give him a follow on X at Jake Bolin Moss, and of course at Coolbet Canada, Instagram, X. We'll certainly have some fun stuff coming out of the GTA for the Canadian Open and some Jays, and hopefully that soccer match on Saturday, if I can make it all happen. All right, let's welcome in back inside is Michael Remis. And Remo, I know you've got a little bit of room to catch up with me, but I've got good news for you. We now have Monday racing at Assiniboia Downs starting this week.
I gotta be honest, I sat down in the chair today. It's like, I guess I gotta wait till tomorrow to take on Huss, as it's normally Tuesday, Wednesday racing. But no, it's one of the Mondays this year. We got 3 straight days. We're going head to head on HPI Bet, where you had some crazy winner last week, just when I thought you had all the luck last year when you had what was the last? We gotta remember this last year, what you
It was an $1,100 triactor off a $1 bet.
That is insane. And last week you hit like 300 off a $1, right?
Yes. It was 292, and then I also won 65 on the race before that.
Yeah, so I'm
a big
like
day.
Yeah, so I'm like trying to hit these like favorite bets and it's not going well. So I don't know what you were on Wednesday, but I did not win any. I've got 4 bets tonight. I'm going to try to, take it one day at a time. Still a lot of time left. Like live racing goes till October now. So,
I did hit the triactor in race 7 on Wednesday as well.
You did?
That was 30.
Come on.
Yeah. $30.25.
Oh my God. 30.25. So you were up 10.25.
Yeah.
So that's not losing. That's better than me. But you're up you're up like, I don't know. Like, yeah, 300 basically.
I'm in a good spot right now, but again, there's lots of time, and we got 3 days of live racing with the Assiniboia Downs. By the way, did anyone check out Rib Fest on the weekend? Let us know in the chat if you did. I was very intrigued, but I was busy with all these other sports things going on, so I didn't get out there. Where are you going with your picks for tonight?
Starting with race 1, I've got a 1-3 exact, bit of a chalk pick here. Mary Who and Just Oppose, trying to start off on the right foot.
Nicely done. You basically just go through yours.
Sure, I'll go through my list. I got race 3. I'm going with the triactor box. I've got 247, Lieutenant Norm, Inform, and a lot of Verve. 2 of those are on the program selection AI Smart Picks. I did not go with His Lord there. Race 6, I'm going with the exacta box 1-2, B, La Soul, and Better Luck next time. And race 5, I'm going just to win horse 1, Gopher. A bit of a longer shot there.
Interesting. Okay, we got a big race 7 today. 10 horses. My other picks, I'm starting off in race number 3. Going $4 on number 1, Tis Lord to win.
Okay.
In race number 4, $2 exacta box on 5-6 Speedy Gigi, and Always the Little One.
Nice.
Race number 6, we are going triactor box 1, Be La Soul, 6, Medicine Dog, and we're going to go with 5, Prince of the Prairie. And then for my final, the old triactor on race number 7, we are going to go with number 5, It's Not the Law. Let me just put this in here. It's Not the Law, 5. We're going to go with Tree Hugger, which is number 6. And we'll go with, I guess we'll go with Frankly, number 3. Couple of the favorites and one of the less so. So 3, 5, 6, $6 bet. There we're in. Couple triactors for the final 2 races, and then hopefully another winning day. Of course, free parking, free admission, incredible prime rib buffet if you can get a booking in the dining room. And they're just getting the week started because they're back tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday as well. And now you can check the schedule at Assiniboia Downs, but the Mondays are back now through most of the summer on most days. So asdowns.com for more information on that, and get out to the track and have a great time. And can't wait to get out there as well with some of our listeners and viewers at some point later on this season. Reem, we got to wait till Thursday for the NBA Finals. We've got to wait till Wednesday for the Cup Final. We got to wait for tomorrow for the Gold Eyes to get going. By the way, Gold Eyes game's now on Coolbet as well, if you want to jump on that. But we don't have lines yet for tomorrow. This is just one of these days. I guess we're going to have to check out WWE Raw or something tonight, waiting for everything to get going. And I guess a little bit of baseball as well.
Yeah, there's baseball on. I'm in some fantasy, keeps me going. Pouring over CFL Week 1 lines. We do have a DraftKings contest as well. CFL is back.
Yes.
I'm pretty fired up. What do I got? I got my son's soccer tonight. I don't think there's any lines or anything on that. No totals.
What's their team called?
I don't even remember. They're blue jerseys. I'm just happy he's on the field playing, running around. It gets, we start him pretty young, and you're lucky that there's even soccer playing. Like, they just want to go to the play structure. Now this is the third year where he's on the field kicking the ball around. So we're close. There's some kids that are decent. I heard Brian Hayes on Overdrive talking about their parent group chat. That
was an amazing segment.
So he was talking on Overdrive how I guess they have I think his kids are his child who's plays soccer, maybe a bit older, but they had a parent group chat where someone was in charge of the snacks for each week, and one parent got reamed out in a group chat that they didn't bring the snacks. Our team's not that sophisticated. I don't think there's a parent group chat. It was really hot last week. I bought Freezies.
Your go-to.
I took a bunch in the fridge. They're for me, but I did bring them for the kids and just started handing them out. I brought scissors and a plastic bag to throw out the garbage. So I think the weather, hopefully it warms up later. I don't know if I'll bring in the Freezies. We'll see. It's not freezy weather right now, but that's what I'm at tonight. I'm catching up on shows now that the Stanley Cup is over. I'm watching The Rehearsal from HBO with Nathan Fielder. There's some wrestling documentaries I got to catch up on. Jake mentioned he's watching the Stitch movie. I did not think
Lilo and Stitch, apparently.
Yeah,
they made a live action movie.
They made a live action. I never saw the original. My son and his friends are very into it. I did not have that on my bingo card that Jake would be going to see the Stitch movie in theater. So that
was a wild one. Johnny Bender in chat. Is WST doing a CFL fantasy league? Also, where can someone play CFL fantasy? Great question. I don't think we've set anything up for a season-long thing, but we do every week. We do a $3 DraftKings contest where you pick your favorite players, you put it under the cap. If you send us an email or a DM if you want more information on a link to join in, or maybe if you can, just throw it into the chat right now, Remo.
So there's no. I don't think season long is a good thing for CFL. There's only 9 teams. I don't even know if there's a site. Might be one that can do it, but
they can't even do their own stats.
Yeah, they can't. Yeah, they can't even do. And we should touch on that. I wanted to get in. They can't even do their own stats. So we play on DraftKings. We've been doing it for years. Every week you pick a new team under the salary cap. I know they have a game on their own website, but again, they can't do anything. So I prefer the DraftKings site. It's better salaries. So join. We do $3. 30 people in right now. Top 5 win. It changes throughout the year. But if you want to play with us, I would recommend going on DraftKings. I put the link in the chat right now. We've got 7 out of 30 entrants. Maybe I should have made it bigger for week 1. I'll make another contest if it fills before. But I prefer that. And for CFL, I don't know why they thought. First of all, the CFL Plus, great idea. Execution gets a 0. They don't have an app on any smart TVs, any Roku, Fire Stick app. They don't have an app anywhere. So if you want to watch it on your TV, you got to cast from your laptop. It's 2025. You want people to watch, make it easy. Bare minimum, have an app. I don't even care if it works. Just have one in the store. They do not have that. So, of course, when they realize that they don't have the capacity to live stream games to people that want to watch, they move it to YouTube, which does. That was a smart move. They should have just done that from the start.
They should have just had that be, you know what, here's the CFL channel. Mm-hmm. Go there, subscribe. Having a big presence on YouTube makes a lot of sense for the CFL.
Yes, get as many people watching it for free. I get maybe you want to capture emails and all that on your own website. But again, you can't even keep your own stats. So how are you going to live stream games? And I want the CFL to succeed. Big fan, but they can't get out of their own way with this stuff. Make it accessible to everyone.
There's no better example than when we started doing these DraftKings contests for CFL. It was updating in real time. You knew everything. Now, you're often waiting till the end of the game to see exactly how it all shakes out. So
it's crazy.
They need to get their act together for sure. Great stuff today. Oh, yeah, Waiters' first coaches show tonight. You can check that out with DT over on OB, I believe just after 7 p.m. That is going to do it for us today, though. Great stuff with Josh Frey-Sam. Really loved that conversation we had with Josh. Mike McIntyre, Tom Gazzola, Jake Bolin Moss. Tomorrow on the program, more on the upcoming Stanley Cup final. And before I head to Toronto, we'll dive into the Canadian Open when Pat Gregoire joins us tomorrow. So it should be a real fun show. Enjoy the evening. Again, big thanks to everyone battling fires in our province. Let's get a big dump of rain tonight and help, diminish the threat around the province. But we'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great night, and thanks for hanging.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.